Shadows whisper when the lights go dim. Cold breath crawling on my skin. Voices echo from the other side. Is it real or just my mind? Things paranormal talks in the dark. Secrets buried leave a burning mark. We interview the dead, we debate the unknown. Chasing shadows where the seeds are sown. Fingers tapping on a Ouija board. Broken silence like a shattered chord. Eerie hums in the dead of night. Is it truth?
Hello, so this is Ryan O'Neill from Haunted Scotland.
Hello, and this is Greg Stewart from Haunted Scotland. You're
And
listening
it's
to
Things
Paranormal Talks.
Nearly got it. Nearly.
You were almost there. Almost exactly. the same
Yeah.
time.
It sounded great. It sounded great.
Yeah, we couldn't do it better. Trust me. Never.
Well,
Well,
Shane,
welcome.
if
Thank
you
you.
start off, I will share out,
Yes.
and it's your honor again.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I'm sorry because I'm not gonna talk that much because my throat is killing me. It's like I'm eating razor blades or something. Yeah. So, how are you guys doing?
Good. Busy, like everyone in the
Yeah.
paranormal field just now. Everybody's crazy busy.
Yeah, I noticed. I was reading a lot of things on your Facebook page, and I was like, "Oh my God, you guys barely have time to do us."
We never stop, Greg. I mean,
No,
what's it like?
we had a meeting earlier on today, this evening, and we were just talking about just how much is coming up and how much we've been doing over the last couple of weeks. It's just been a crazy time.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
But it's all
I think.
good fun.
Oh yeah. I mean, we go into Edinburgh on Friday for Halloween, so we're doing the Georgian House, which is quite a big location. It's the National Trust of Scotland property, historic. It's next door to the residence of the First Minister of Scotland. So we've got the First Minister of Scotland next door to us, where we have a ghost hunt.
Well, nah, I wanted to say something, but if you don't like the guy, just send him over there.
Well, what we did hope is that maybe he'd watch it and say, "Do you want to come next door and investigate in here as well?" You just never know.
That would be a good one.
Yeah.
Well, most people who don't like ghost investigations are scared, so you can use them as trigger. Tell them in first, and you get your
Yeah,
activity.
we'll give you some ideas. Yeah,
Yes.
very good influence. Yes.
Oh, well, first question everyone wants to know: what got you into the paranormal?
You want me to go first, Greg?
Yep, on you go then.
Okay. Like many people who get into paranormal investigation, it starts off with an experience. Something happens that makes you wonder what happened, and if you can find out some answers, especially as you get older. My first experience, I was probably 3-year-old. You shouldn't have a memory at that point. Most people don't. For me, I do recall being in a cot in my bed at night time. I recall seeing what I can only describe as like shadow type substance coming along the walls, which then formed above my cot. It was in a sphere, but it wasn't a perfect sphere. It was pretty much like a blob, if you like, and it was coming up and down towards me, and I was trying to hit it away. I was scared. And I remember calling out, and then my father come in, put the light on, and it just dissipated. Oh, it disappeared. Now, years later, I said to my father, I could explain exactly what the bedroom looked like. And he says, "You can't, you're too young." So I explained where the bed was. I explained, you know, a little clock, a little digital clock. I knew what was outside the window. I could describe the whole lot. I even drew an image of what it looked like. And he says, "How do you remember?" And I explained what happened. You know, something was there. He went on to tell me that there was always talk that there was something in the house. So that was probably the first experience, but you quickly forget these things. And then I moved forward to being a teenager, early teens. And this is one I tell quite often, but in a nutshell, I went to a friend of a friend's house. I was supposed to be at school. We were supposed to be at school that day. We didn't go. We went to we went to this, yeah, naughty. We went to this house. So the parents, they were at work, and I always remember it. It was so long ago that Scotland was actually in the European Championships for football at the time. That's how long ago it was. So I remember the football being on Sky TV. We were watching some of that, and my friend went to use the bathroom upstairs. And when he went to the bathroom, he come back. I was sitting speaking to this other guy, and he come back down and he said, "Do you have a ghost or something?" And I laughed, and then he turned around and says, "Yeah," and I laughed again, and I was like, "Huh?" And he says, "Watch," and he turned down the volume of the football on the TV. And when he done that, we could hear what sounded like, it was like footsteps and then a dragging noise, and then footsteps and a dragging noise. And I thought he had a friend, and I thought he had somebody else in. And he says, "Come on, we'll go upstairs." And I won't lie, I was pretty scared. I was like, "I'll go in the middle. You know, you go first." My other friends behind me, I was in the middle. And we got halfway up the stairs to go up, and we heard it was like an almighty smashing noise, crashing noise. And he got a fright, the guy who owned the house. We ran into this room. It was his little sister's room. And there was a smashed piggy bank in the middle of the floor. At this point, I was under the bed looking, and I was in the cupboards and wardrobes, and I was looking I thought somebody else was there. I thought, you know, somebody's at it. And we couldn't find anyone. And then I think there was a few other things, but I think the biggest thing for me, especially when I think back to it today, is we started coming down the stairs and we could hear his dogs out the back from the kitchen barking. Now, so the way it is you would come down the stairs and come around, the kitchen would be here, and there was a glass door that went out to the garden. And as we looked over, the dogs, big Alsatian dogs, big German Shepherds, and they were barking at the door, and every single cupboard in the kitchen was open. And it was at that point I said, "Get me out of here." I'm out of here. And I took out. The thing that done for me was, for the next 2-3 weeks after that, I sort of walked around with what is this all about? Because it changed something inside me, because I directly experienced this happen and I seen it. To my friend, the guy who owned the house, I mean, this was normal living for him. He heard his parents talking about it. Lots of things would happen. They would speak to the neighbours about it. They had some activity. They thought it was a previous owner who died. It wasn't anything nasty. He probably just trying to get some sort of attention. So it was things like that coming forward that got my interest started. But it wouldn't be until I was probably around about 25 or 26 that I took things seriously. I come into paranormal investigating at that point. And then, you know, you never ever get the exact same great experiences you get when you get these experiences. When you go into an investigation, it's usually a bit quieter. You get things, but it's not as grand as these things that open you up to start with. But that was probably the start, I would say, of my journey coming forward, to try and understand and see if I can capture anything similar. And I'll go to Greg now. I'll let Greg.
Yeah, I mean, my story is slightly different. I didn't have a experience with paranormal as early as that, anyway. Mine was more, my grandfather was a gold leaf expert, so he did like the gold leaf work, and it was all round about the places like Falkland Palace, the King's bedroom. He did all the gold leaf work on the ceiling in there. And he did all the chapel in Falkland Palace. So he was in very historic and very haunted locations like that. He'd be lying for hours, you know, slowly painting the gold leaf onto the ceiling. And he'd hear all the staff coming in to the room and talking. And they would talk about things that had been happening. So he started picking up these ghost stories from the staff. I used to go there on a Saturday night. I liked to stay there because my granddad he'd let me watch Billy Connolly and things like that my mum and dad wouldn't let me watch. So I got to watch the comedy. And he would tell me all these stories. So as like 10, 12-year-old, it started really igniting my enthusiasm. I also grew up in the town of St Andrews in Scotland, which it's known worldwide as the home of golf. But it's also probably the most haunted town in Scotland. It was Scotland's Rome for centuries, and the amount of history and violence, if you like, in that town is unbelievable, and obviously hauntings associated with it. So, I had my imagination lit by all these stories my granddad would tell me. I was then walking through the grounds of all these locations that I knew were haunted. When I was a teenager, all my pals were getting comics and things like that. I was getting Unexplained, the magazine, which came together into encyclopedias, which I still have and still use to this day. So that's really what ignited my interest. Obviously, later on in my life, I got married, had children, family takes over. And then maybe sort of when I was 30, 35, I started coming back into the paranormal again. As the kids got a bit older, at that point I could return to my passion.
Wow. That are two slightly different stories.
Yeah.
You said the town is the most haunted in Scotland. I thought it was York or Edinburgh.
Yeah, well, York's in England. Edinburgh is certainly a very haunted town. When I say, in my opinion, it's the most haunted town, I mean per head of capita. Obviously,
Yeah.
Edinburgh's far bigger, so it's got more ghost stories. But St Andrews is quite a small town. It's only got a population of about 12,000 people. And the actual ghost stories are squeezed into just the town centre, the old historic town. And there are so many stories. It's unbelievable.
Are you going to write a book about it?
I have.
He has already.
I've written about 5 books about St Andrews.
Oh, well, people have to look it up at Amazon. I didn't know this one, so you got me.
But
Well,
we interview people to learn more about them. So
yeah,
Perfect.
That's a fact. Here in the Netherlands, we were privileged to see Spooked Scotland and Spooked Ireland. Who came up with the idea?
Well, it's I mean, going back, we've always shared our journey coming forward. So we would do our investigations, we would film parts of the investigation, sometimes live streaming it as well. The reason for it's funny, the reason for live streaming is a little bit different to why people think you would live stream. People think you just go live maybe to get followers or get viewers, but it's not. It's, in my opinion, if you do a EVP session when you're live, it's non-edited. It's raw. You can hear everything. So when I go to make that content, and if somebody says you edited it to sound like that, I could say go back and watch the live. Now that's slightly different now because Facebook's decided to only give you 30 days worth of your live and then pull your lives now, which is a shame because I was using that like a catalogue. So I've had to grab some of that I'll put it on YouTube or something instead. But yeah, we've always put stuff out, and certainly at the time of around, I think it was 2021, we were putting a lot of content out, and the production company come to us and said they floated an idea. Would you be interested in doing something? We want to. They sort of come to us first and said something like CSI, crime investigation, Scotland type, and we thought, yeah, we're into that. That's investigations. That sounds really, really good. So it was a long process. Obviously, at that point, it's up to the production company what they want to do. We heard the BBC were interested, Discovery Channel were interested, and we just had to wait. I'll be completely honest with you. The way that I viewed it at the time, and Greg will tell you, as I said, if something happens, something happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not really attached to what happens. I'm quite happy to what we're doing now. And Greg will tell you, even up to the point, the day before I went filming, I still had that same thing where, yeah, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And I sort of went that route with it. I was very intrigued to see, you know, how much of our evidence could get on the screen, how they would put that together. Mainly because, you know, once a production company takes any kind of footage away, it's really up to them to build that from there. I could only provide what we can provide. The investigations usually it looked like it was over 1 day, and Greg will tell you this as well, but it's actually over 2 days. So you would do some work on day one, some on day two. So it was really 48 hours, sometimes 3 days worth of investigating, audio sessions, ITC work. Chris Fleming obviously doing his stuff, psychic walkarounds, doing the actual investigation was on that main day. And then they would highlight it, just like I say, just like the football. You know, instead of watching the whole match, they get the highlights and put the best together. And this is why it looks like there's lots and lots of evidence coming out, but in reality, it was such a long, drawn process. And they've selected what they deem to be the best parts on it. So much stuff that didn't make it as well, which is a shame, that Chris got, that I would get, because it didn't fully follow the story that they wanted to tell. They would focus on one aspect of the haunting, and we were finding that we were getting communication that could be children, not this female that's seen. We were getting children communication. That sounds like a child. We're getting names, and some of this didn't make it, unfortunately. So we felt like there was a lot more that could have been in there, but time constraints sort of took that away. And Greg will tell you, Greg, because you were behind the scenes helping.
Yeah, I mean, that's Ryan saying, when the production company first came to us, it was the two of us working in the initial meetings. We didn't know what format the show was going to take. Initially, it was they put forward CSI Scotland, basically, or CSI Paranormal Scotland, or something. I can't remember exactly what the phrase was that they used. But, you know, it sounded quite an exciting show. We didn't know who they wanted on it. We didn't really know what was happening with it. As it went, Discovery came in. You know, they kind of more start steering it towards the way they wanted it. I don't particularly like being on camera, so I was more than happy to to step back and push Ryan forward. I don't think he had much choice on the matter, but he did a better job than I think I would have done anyway on it. But yeah, because you obviously was involved in the initial meetings, Ryan pushed, and I got a chance to come along to the behind the scenes, the production side of it, and it's eye-opening seeing what goes into an episode. You know, people watch the 45-minute episode, not realising it's 3 days. It could be like from 9 in the morning till 12 at night. You're filming, you're repeating, you're just the simplest walk through a door 5 times to get different angles. And then you see so much happening during the investigation. Then when you see how they cut it down, because as Ryan mentions that it didn't fit in with their story. That's not to say that, you know, the story wasn't real. There was a specific aspect of the history or the haunting of that property they wanted to follow. So while other alleged spirits activity was happening, they couldn't include that because it would go off the narrative too much. You know, they only have 45 minutes, so they have to stay quite focused. But yeah, it was fascinating and a real opportunity to get in some good locations.
Yeah.
I think that was the main one. Was the look at that? I think that probably pulled me a lot more. Certainly in Ireland, was the chance. What I would like as paranormal investigators, the chance to get into places that we would not normally get into, is a big pull for any paranormal investigator. Forget anything about any kind of fames or fortunes or, you know, all that. That doesn't matter. If you're a paranormal investigator, let me in. I want to see. I want a chance to investigate here and see what I could get. And I know that's what pulled us massively to do some of it, and especially Ireland. After Scotland was done, I didn't know if there was going to be a Spooked Ireland or anything like that, and it was still Spooked Scotland was on the screens when I got the phone call to ask if I would return for Spooked Ireland. When they said Ireland, I was like, oh yeah, absolutely, I want to go to Ireland and do stuff there, because obviously with a name like O'Neill, obviously my family come from Ireland originally, and I'd only been there once with Greg and the team. And it was very brief, wasn't it, Greg? Like 36 hours.
Yeah, it was a bit of a whirlwind tour that in hindsight was not the best idea.
No, we decided
Allowed a
to.
little bit of sleep time in that 36
Yeah,
minutes.
we never slept. We basically flew from. Was it Edinburgh? I think it was Edinburgh,
Edinburgh,
wasn't it?
yeah.
We went from Edinburgh to Belfast in the plane. We had to explain to security what a Frank's box was. This wooden box with wires hanging out of it, coming through security. That was interesting. Then we had to grab a hired car. We drove from Northern Ireland down towards Dublin. Went to the Hellfire Club up on the hill, so that was a bit of a walk. Back in the car, all the way to Leap Castle. Still no sleep. Investigate Leap Castle and returned back the way. And I have to say, it was probably the most craziest thing that you could ever do. And it taught us a little bit lesson that, sometimes you do need sleep, when you're doing this.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
you probably ended up being the ghost.
they looked like ghosts. We certainly looked like ghosts. So yeah, we'd been there, and then obviously with the chance to go to do Spooked Island, and I knew I was going back to Leap Castle. I'd heard that one. The big one for me at the time, and I really, really wanted to get my teeth into it to find out if it was real or false, was the school. Was the Cork school that was everywhere with the poltergeist type activity. Was this fake? Was it real? Could I get any answers? I mean, I watched a lot of things online about that. Before I even went in, I was looking at the case. I was still working on other Irish cases there, and I had my eyes on this school in Cork, and I went and watched BuzzFeed and things because they'd done a debunking of the evidence there, and said that it was somebody outside the window and they were pushing the lockers from outside, and so the first thing I'd done when I went there is I took all the notes from that and I had a look. And one of the things the first thing I noticed, because I walked on the ground floor to go to it, and they said the principal said to me, "No, it's upstairs." And I was like, "Oh, the area that had the yeah, it's upstairs." And I'm like, "Was it not downstairs?" And they said, "No." And I said, "Right, so how could somebody be outside the window pushing the lockers? Because they would have to have very long legs, because it's on the first floor." So I had a look, and then more than that, I said, well, maybe if the window was open, but the window didn't open until it was above the lockers. There was a little window on the top, so I knew it wasn't that. The other one as well for that school case was there was a CCTV. You could see the camera on the wall, but this other camera was back here, and rightly so. They said, why would you have a camera back here? It must be a camera on a tripod, or it's been set up. But when I got there, I found it. The camera is on the wall. For some reason, there is CCTV cameras on the wall. So it was good in that case to look at these things. Now, I'm not saying that overall that nothing's went on. I mean, maybe there has been some sort of editing or that I couldn't. I know physically nothing could have happened, but maybe something else. But we did get a lot of interesting stuff in that episode that we done there, and a lot of the ITC stuff, like how many spirits were there crossing over, all the numbers fit that were there, and we were actually, me and Chris Fleming, we were really blown away with that. So there's something going on, but it was built next to gallows. There's lots of graves around that area. There's a reason why there should be a type of haunting there, because of the lands and because of what's happened there. So I could understand why the school maybe would have activity. Was it the activity that was seen go international and viral? I don't know, because we didn't get any of that type of activity to happen. But there's certainly something very, very strange about the place. And Greg's been there. We went maybe 4 weeks ago, or just over 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's the second time we've been there, because we were there the year before with Dave Schrader for that tour. I mean, I had seen the videos as well, and I'd read the comments, and I'd heard what Ryan had said about it. So I was really excited about getting to go here and seeing it for myself. And what I would say is that the energy in that place, there's something, you can feel it as soon as you go in. Now, there's so much focus on the video, or the two videos. There's two videos of the same sort of thing. And everyone's focused on them. But when you actually speak to the staff and speak to the people who use this school, there is so much other stuff happen. So even if the video is 100% fake, which I don't know either way. But if it is 100% fake, it doesn't explain everything else that's happening. You've got doors that are locking by themselves, opening and closing, dark figures being recorded on the CCTV. You know, there was people booking rooms in the school that were reporting they were getting locked in, and there was only one key, and the caretaker had it, and nobody else had been up to the top floor where the rooms were to lock the rooms, but they found themselves locked in, and you had to physically use a key and turn the key to lock the door.
Whoa.
Unlock the door, let them in, go downstairs, and then they couldn't get out because somebody or something had locked the door. You know, these are the sort of things that when you start piling them together, plus this connection with the gallows, explain the history. There's a lot of children hung at the gallows, and then you've got a school, you know, very close by. Is this child energy connecting with the children going to the school? We don't know, but it's certainly a place worth investigating quite in depth.
What I found really interesting with it is when we went in when Dave Schrader was there, which was last year, there was a Cork paranormal investigation team who were getting access after we left, and they were going to do an all-night investigation there. And so I had a little check a week or two later to see if they got anything. I had a look online, and I seen their Facebook page, and on their Facebook page, they'd said that they were going to go through the footage, but it'd been a quiet night, and I was like, yeah, I mean, it happens, we know that. And I says that's quite interesting, but I think it was many weeks later, they put a video up on their YouTube, and they actually commented on my Cork video and said, go and have a look. When we reviewed the video footage of a locked off camcorder in the top, we could see a figure coming in at the end of the corridor and going back out again. And I had a look, and yes, there is a figure comes. It's very, very clear. It comes in and it goes back by walking backwards. Now, what they said was they were the only ones inside. They were in there till I think 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. The cleaners didn't come to early in the morning, but not at that point. In order to get in, they would have to come in a specific door and area that they would see them coming into school. So when you come into school, there's big gates, all the fences all the way around it, and there's one car park you come in with big massive gates. And I'm assuming what he means is, yeah, you would have to see them coming in there.
Yeah.
You'd see a car come in, you would see people walking in. There was nobody else inside the school. And there's this, what looks like a man figure walking in, and it just looks, and then it goes back out again. And they say it was none of them. They were not up on that level at all. And it's been captured on their locked off camcorder, which I thought was great, because I could sense from their initial posting that they were quite open-minded skeptics. So they were wanting the truth. It wasn't a case of, we're going to go in there and we're going to find ghosts, or even go in there and overly debunk. But they went in there and said, right, let's see what happens. If we catch something, we catch it. My initial thought on them was that very level-headed, didn't get anything, but we'll see what we've got in the footage. They've looked at the footage, and then there you go, you have it. And just to pick up on the comment Lisa's put up about the door off its hinges in the comments there. The day after we were there, the headmaster of the school sent me an image over Twitter, over X, to my private messages. And it was the big fire door that is on the stairs was off its hinges and lying against the stairs. Now, these doors are really, really heavy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how could you possibly, I'll try and find the image and share it later, but how could you possibly have that off the hinges? So he sent that to me. I think he sent it to Chris Fleming as well, to show him. And we were just like, wow. So yeah, what's going on in that school? I have no idea. If it's somebody playing a prank, I just don't understand what they're getting from it. You know, the original report come out around about 2017. Nobody's made any money. Nobody's got anything out of it. It's a school. I mean, it's a school, a learning place for the school. It's not like it's a place where, you know, they're trying to sell tours or, you know, anything else to make money or fame or fortune. It's a school.
And the school is still functional.
It's still functional.
Oh,
It's
yes,
really functional with pupils. When we were there, we went, like I said a few weeks ago, Chris Fleming was doing a tour of Ireland, and he was doing all the Spooked Island locations that we went around. And so we went back. He says, "You come into the school?" I said, "Yeah, we'll come down." And we spent a couple of hours there, and it was still, we could only spend a couple of hours because it was busy. There was like after school clubs going on. It was really just buzzing, and we had this little part of the school because we thought we're not going to be able to do any audio or anything here. So busy here, but it was okay. We did manage to get some Estes going, and we did some ITC stuff, and it was fine. But yeah, the place is like a hotbed of activity, even just for the physical. Never mind the non-physical
Yeah.
around there.
But then I'm wondering, is it because children are fully open if it comes to that,
Mhm,
the
mhm.
paranormal? Isn't there any reports of children going around saying we saw something, we felt something?
There
or-
is. Yeah, there is. I think when I filmed Spooked Ireland, because a lot of the times you could be sitting in the area where they've got the food resting and waiting until you get a shout. And when I was in there, the headmaster was there. I think it was a caretaker was there, and there was two ex-pupils that were there, and I got speaking to them, and the pupils were telling me, yeah, the whole school knows. All the pupils talk about it, about not wanting to go to certain areas, certain it's always toilets, isn't it? Certain toilets. They didn't want to go to the noises like footsteps in the attic area. And there's all these kinds of stories surfacing. So they're very much aware that there's something going on.
I think that will create. If I was in that school, I was still that young, I would probably be freaked out
Yeah.
all the time.
Again, that's something just to add to what Ryan said. You know, the parents of the children going to this school, you know, if their kids are scared, again, it goes back to this: the school has nothing to gain
No.
by you know telling what's happening there, and it could possibly put people off putting their children there.
Yeah.
But you know, they're open enough to say, "Look, this is what's happening." They make no claims. It's up to you to work out yourself what you think's happening. But
Yeah.
as Ryan says, there is no gain for them whatsoever. It could actually hurt because people might not book their after-school clubs there. People might not send their children there.
Yeah.
So why would they do it if it wasn't actually happening?
Yeah, exactly.
And why is somebody not taking credit for duping the world's press to all these news reports and the CCTV that's put out? Surely somebody wants to take credit somewhere and say, "Yo, it was me that did it, and this is how we did it, and we'll show you." That would be such a great story for the people who did that. So I have that in my mind as well.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody at some point will step forward. We'd never know, but there's certainly something going on.
Yeah, exactly. But like you said, you did your investigations there, and it's not like nothing's happening.
Yeah.
So you know that there's something going on there.
There's definitely something going on, and the main thing as well. I mean, Chris went in there, and Chris will tell you himself. He went in there with a very skeptical eye. I mean, he's already a medium. He's already a paranormal investigator. He gets such a hard time at times as well, and he's one of the hardest working investigators. I watched him when there's no cameras going, and he was continuously analysing. He was on Adobe Audition, working through audios. You know, really looking into these cases. He takes it like a mission to find out. You know, he wants to help spirit. He does prayers to help spirit if they want to move on. He does all of that off camera as well. And he tried to he was convinced that there was a potential that the footage was faked, and he wanted to find that out, and he went to massive lengths. He was climbing up behind the lockers to see if he could fit down the back of the lockers. He was doing everything. He was listening to the heating system to see if it made certain noises. He was checking the angles. If you pulled fishing wire, you know, would it pull a chair this way? And he did all of that. And he come away with the thought that potentially it could have been edited if there was somebody that's got an editing suite, or if there was any budding filmmakers there, or he says potentially it could. We would never know. You know, maybe they made a really good job of it. He says, but equally, he told me, spirit's here. He's seen them with his own eyes, and so did the staff member, and they run after the spirit. And he says, spirit's definitely here. He says, I'm not sure about that footage. He says, but I'm telling you, they're here.
Yeah.
So yeah, we give it a really good go, especially the parts you don't see on the show.
Oh, they should do an episode. Scenes which didn't make the cut.
Yeah, actually,
I thought about
they
it.
have
You
to,
know,
yeah.
I really, I kicked myself up to a degree because, I mean, yeah, I had my phone and pieces of equipment with me, and I do have various pieces of footage because the way me and Chris would put it is spirits don't act for cameras. Have your phone ready at all times and ready to film and get stuff on the fly. I was lucky that I'd done that because I got the noise in King John's. Is it King John's Castle at Limerick? I can't remember what episode it was. St John's. St John's. So basically, what happened there was I was going up to check a piece of equipment. There was no filming going on. There was no investigation. We'd set up certain pieces. And Chris had said to me, remember, always, 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 always have your phone with you. And if something happens, or walk around and have it recording, because there's a good chance that things are going to happen when there's nobody around or there's no cameras and they're not going to wait. So I had it on record and I walked all the way up. I checked my equipment and I was coming back down. And as I got to the stairs to come down, there was an almighty bang behind me. I got a fright. I caught me off guard. But I was filming at the time anyway and I spun around. I tried to bounce about on the stairs. I was like, is it maybe the pressure of me coming down the stairs and I've caused it? And I couldn't replicate it. And I filmed this whole thing. And then I went down to the production and I said, look, have a look at this. And I showed them and they were just looking at me as if they, what the fuck? You know, there's no camera. I was like, yeah, but I've got it here. And we went up and had a look and they said, oh, could you send us a copy of that? And I was like, absolutely. I says, we're here to try and find out what's going on. And that's just happened. I says, but even more so, we really, really need to be recording every aspect when we're on location, regardless if we're investigating, regardless if we're filming or doing it, even if we're eating food, we have to be ready at all points to go, because if there's spirit activity happening here, it's not going to wait for us. It's going to do it whenever. Probably when we're not filming, it's going to do it. That's
Exactly.
what I've always
Yes.
found in investigations.
Yep.
Always,
Yep.
always.
Usually,
Yeah.
usually they act like men.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you start
Absolutely.
taking a break and having fun amongst each other, they will start having fun with you.
It's now
Yeah.
become a standard thing. If we're investigating someplace, once we've finished, we'll switch the camera off and everything will go, okay, spirits, in you come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it will happen.
I've got a story about that was, it was so funny. I'm going way back to around about 2005, and it was the early days of Scottish Paranormal. And we were doing Mary King's Close in Edinburgh, so it's underground. And we used to, I was extremely lucky we had access to there for doing our own private investigations. And so we had access from something like 10 p.m. till 3 a.m. after they'd done their last tours of the day. And we went down, and it was very basic equipment back then. This was before all the spirit boxes and everything else that we've got, or any kind of apps or software or stuff. You know, it was basically beam alarms, a recorder to record, a camcorder, and your trigger object set up, and that would be your most that you would have probably. But we were doing our stuff, and we went through the whole night rotating around Mary King's Close. A couple of interesting things going on, and we had one guy with us, and he was a skeptic. He was a Richard Dawkins fan. He was really into that side of nope. There's, you know, everything can be explained, which was fine. And it's funny because his partner, he was a really nice guy. His partner, Rachel, she was a sensitive, so she was open to spirit. So she was open to spirit, and he was very much closed to anything being there. And we'd finished off, and it was down in the bottom of the close at what's called Chesney's house, and we were down there, and we'd put everything off. Cameras were off, and there was 5 of us only there, and we were all in this one area. And we said, right, okay, I suppose that's us finished. And at that, we heard very, very clear footsteps next door on the wooden floor coming towards us, getting louder and louder. And we thought it was a staff member coming down to say, time's up, guys. So we all done this to look, and there was nobody there. And you know, the thing is, I'm excited, I'm buzzing, and so's the others. And I looked at Mike, the skeptic. His face was white. He just stood there, and I couldn't help it. I looked and I said, "Believe in ghosts now." And he just like, I have no explanation for that. Didn't say believe in ghosts though. I have no explanation for that. But that just highlighted to me, you know, when you stop and everything goes off, and if they're ready, they'll say, "Right, our time."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I had the same thing. We were filming at a location, and a friend of mine saw a shadow figure, and we came to a point we had to eat something and to drink something. So we put everything down, went to the spot to eat, and I heard, "Hey, psst,
Mm.
Mary," clear as
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Nothing filmed, nothing on audio,
It happened.
nothing.
It happened to Greg. Greg, when we were
Yeah,
down at the Ancient
Castle
Ramen.
Mingus.
No,
Castle
Ancient
Mingus.
Ramen.
Oh yeah, Ancient Ramen as well. We were down there with a couple of team members, and we were doing a walk round, just to familiarise ourselves with it. And the way the layout is you come up the stairs. There's a room on one side that's called the Witch's Room, and then there's a corridor that comes down, and then there's the Bishop's Room. So I'd come up the stairs first. Ryan was behind me, and I continued down the corridor. And just as I went into the Bishop's Room, there's somebody spoke in my ear. I thought it was Ryan, but I couldn't quite make out what it was. So I turned round to ask him what he'd said, and he was still way down the bottom of the corridor. So that was quite an interesting one. But at Castle Mingus, while we were filming for Spooked Scotland, it was during the break. They were away filming. Now, while filming was taking place, I sat elsewhere because obviously I didn't want to cause any sound disturbance or anything else. So anyone that wasn't filming sat elsewhere, and I was sitting completely on my own in the small cafe area in the Victorian wing. I was just minding my own business. I'd literally just come in and sat down, and a female voice just said, "Well, hello there." There's nobody here. Not just there's nobody here, there's no females in the castle, full stop. It was only males that were there that night. So I was still a wee bit, what's going on here? And then I heard somebody walking about upstairs. Clear as day, just footsteps moving about. But right, that's them finished filming. So when they come downstairs, I'll ask them. And I sat. Nobody came downstairs. About 10 minutes later, they came down. I said to Ryan, told him what had happened. I said, "I'd heard you coming. I don't know why it took you so long to get down." He goes, "We were filming in the main castle tower house. We weren't upstairs. The tower house is a completely separate wing from where I was." So I asked the castle manager, "Were you upstairs?" No. So there's nobody upstairs, but there's footsteps, there's furniture getting moved. And it turns out this is actually quite a common thing in that room. And that's the room where people have seen one of the most famous ghosts, a female ghost. So was that who was speaking to me?
I actually heard her singing. I heard her singing during that same filming. Oh, it was so magical. So basically, as Greg says, there was no females. Gail didn't take part in that one. It was myself, Chris, Greg was there. We had another team member who come and joined us for part of it as well. And it was an all-male crew. You know, the cameraman, the sound guy, the director that was there. No females whatsoever. No females connected to the castle. You've only got Scott who manages the castle there. And we were up, I think we were in the pink room at the time. And we were investigating, the camera guys were there. And as we were standing there, all I hear is, and I'm like, so I'm looking at the guys with the camera and said, "There's a female singing." "Yeah." I said, "There's no females in the castle." "Are you recording?" "No." See, if it was us, we would have our camcorders or we would have something, we would be grabbing it. And I ran through to where I thought it was coming from, a little room that was off that hallway. And it's funny too, because I run into this room and it's just darkness. You know that thing, you run into the room to look where it's coming from. I'm just met with darkness and I'm standing there thinking, I'm just standing here in the dark and I can't see anything in front of me, and there could be anybody there. But I didn't see anything. I didn't hear it. It stopped. And I said to Chris, "Did you hear it?" And Chris says, "Yeah, I heard it." And I was like, he's like, "Maybe the sound guy got it, but we never ever found out if he captured it. We didn't, because we didn't get access to those audio files." We may have it on because it was our DVR system that we used for that. So we may have it on there. I'm still trying to find it. I've been trying to comb through parts to find exactly where it is and if we've got it. Because I just think it's one of the most strongest pieces of evidence if I can get that. But no females there. There's a female singing, and the main spirit that's seen there is a female. And I just, we're in there doing an investigation, and they're trying to capture stuff on camera to get, and to miss it completely, it just blows my mind. So, as much as you'll have some people saying, you know, yeah, when you're filming, these TV people filming, they get all this activity. No, we're missing activity. We're not getting all that activity. We're missing activity because people are in your way, you know, and it's quite restrictive, and you're trying to do your thing, and
Yeah.
it can be really difficult for that angle. So, and I've just probably missed the best evidence we can get. The same female, most likely, that Greg has heard. She's been
Yeah.
making her way through the castle,
I
trying
think
to
to put that
speak
in
to us.
perspective a little bit is, again, just to emphasize how real it was.
Hmm.
The sound guy probably thought nothing of it. He just thought, oh, there's somebody singing. It wasn't until Ryan pointed out, did you hear that? Yeah, there's no females here. I went, oh, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be recording it. But it's so real at the time, it doesn't click that it might be paranormal.
Hmm.
You know, it happens, and it's not till you think about it, oh, there's no women here. Why? Who's that?
Yeah.
These are the moments when it's that real that, you know, you actually think it is real.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Elizabeth is saying, remember last time I was at Menzies and 3 of us heard singing real time, but it wasn't on any recorder.
And it's just weird for that. And yeah, Elizabeth, she comes along to some of the investigations and other people, so they've experienced some of this activity happening. And to hear it, I mean, that's quite the opposite to an EVP, isn't it? To actually hear it and not record it, rather than record it and not hear it the other way around. And it just shows we don't understand exactly how this works,
Yeah.
or what the reasons are. A big thing for me on that point of view, we've got many pieces of equipment, and you could read many different viewpoints and articles on what works, what doesn't work, you know, why you should use this and you shouldn't use that, what's a false positive, what's audio pareidolia, confirmation bias, and I find it quite interesting. I mean, I've been an investigator for 21 years, and I've been through all different kinds of phases to the way that I look at it. I've been overly skeptical at some points. I've been a believer at other points. I've been impartial where I am just now and ready to move with the evidence. And I completely understand the viewpoints of, you read really good articles online and they'll explain to you why it's natural and rational and it's not paranormal, and you'll adopt that. You'll say, yeah, that makes sense. So, and you'll tell people, yeah, don't use a DR60 because it's just the internal workings of a DR60, and you'll do that. But the biggest thing that changed me, and it was around about 15 years ago, I used to listen to a lot of people because you've got a lot of great colleagues and I respect everybody and all their viewpoints. But I come to a conclusion that I'm never ever going to know what works and what doesn't work unless I use it. So I need to use it. I need to take the time and filter out all the background noise and all these amazing people we know, and find out for myself, because that's what happened when I had my paranormal experiences. It happened to me. Didn't happen to somebody writing an article. Didn't happen to a scientist. Didn't happen to anybody else. It happened to me. So maybe if I try and use the equipment that some people claim work, some people claim doesn't work, maybe I'll get results. At the very least, I'll be able to say, yeah, it doesn't work for me. You know, it might work for somebody, but it doesn't work for me. Or I'll be able to say, wow, it does work for me. So that was me 15 years ago. One of the ones was the Frank's box. It's a broken radio. Yes, it's very prone to false positives because radio is coming through in fragments. I believed that that's all it was, that it didn't work for spirit, until I used one and tried it and tested it for myself. The same for the DR60. And where I'm going with this one is, in talking about audio, is I read a lot of things about it's the internal workings, or it's radio, stray radio waves coming through, all these different things. It's just a low quality recorder. Don't use it. I used it and got results coming through, but more so, we put it in a Faraday cage to try to take it away. We put it into a deep railway tunnel, which we couldn't get a radio signal from. We done multiple recordings in a row to see if we could get the same sounding voice if it was internal workings inside, because you would get, if it's internal workings, you would get what would sound like the same voice coming through all the time. We didn't get that.
Yeah.
So we tried that as well. But more so, I've got a friend who, he was a paranormal investigator. He's away doing other things now. He had 10 or 15 DR6s back in the day before they become popular. He was buying them from Germany and from over your way and from all over Europe, and he was getting them everywhere. And he was getting them for
£1 for one, did
he
not?
was getting them for €1. €1 from Germany. He bought a DR60 for. It was before they were on YouTube video channels and TV shows and all this kind of stuff. But he told me, he says, listen, Ryan, he says, we've took them, because we got them so cheap, we were opening them up, we were cutting the microphone cable, and we were still getting recordings. We were burying them under the ground, asking the questions and then digging them back up. We were still getting voices coming through. They had them in Faraday cages. They had external microphones attached to them, putting the microphone to their third eye to try and see if it was helping the communication. They'd done everything with these recorders. And he said, there's something going on. There is false positives. You're getting it in everything, but there is something going on. And then the next point is, I could then turn around and I could look at articles from very, very respectable people online saying, if you use one of these, you're not legit. You're not a credible investigator. And I'm like, but I've used it and I've had stuff, and so have these people. And then my next question is, have you used it to them? And just to finish up on that one, I was a big it's funny how things go with me. I was a big disbeliever in apps and software, using software for ITC to get communication. I was very, very worried about words embedded in there and all the usual things. I used Echovox back in the early days when Echovox was out, only because there was one or two investigators across the world. Australia was one of them. This guy was very, very good at what he'd done, and he said, oh my God, this works. He left a review on Google Play. This works. And I'm looking and I'm saying, I don't believe these work, but if he says it works, I know that he would rip it apart. So I'm going to use it. Now, Echovox was quite expensive for an app. It was like $20 or something for an app. And I said, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to try it. And I'm going to find out for myself. I'm going to take the background noise away and I'm going to try this. And I took the app along to a castle, Macduff's Castle in East Weems. And I done my normal thing. I done filming, and I tried to get EVPs, got nothing on that. Done all sorts, and I thought, oh, I've got the app. I'll try this app thing. And I put it on, and I recorded the session. And as I was recording it, I hear a female Glaswegian accented voice coming through, and it says Glasgow. Clear as anything, and I went, Glasgow? I got a shock. I was like, oh. And I was like, right, okay, don't get too excited. Wait until you analyze. I'm a big analyzer. Wait until you put it in the software. Slow it down. Listen, because it could be audio pareidolia. Might have thought I heard it. Confirmation bias. Went home, had a listen, and it was there. Sent it to a friend who is very good at audio analysis down in England. He listened. He says, not only have you got that, listen just before, I've boosted it up. And it was a Scottish male voice saying, scratch the Scot. Was on there as well. I missed that one completely. He got it, but I got the other one. So I got in touch with the guy who created the application in America. I come from America, Danny, and I asked him, what did you use? And he told me the way that works is it's phonemes. He says, I've taken audiobooks and I've reversed them and I've cut them into very small fragments, basically 100 milliseconds, 250, 300, under a second. So you shouldn't have any full words in there. Plus, it's been reversed as well to add into it. I says, right, thank you for that. I said, used any Scottish radio stations, Scottish audiobooks? Nothing like that. Let him hear it. He says, you've got something. I was hooked to a degree. I was like, don't get too excited, but keep doing it. I was getting Scottish slang words coming through. I was getting things relevant to a location name, to the history of the location coming through. So, and then I'm listening to these other people saying, apps don't work. Spirit can't use apps. It's just all a gimmick. Apps don't work. They can't use devices. And I'm saying, but but Spirit can turn the lights on and off, and they can turn the TV volume up and down. They can turn TVs off, and they could do all these electrical things, but they can't use a silly app. They can't do whatever they need to do with this. Surely they would be able to do that. But the main point for me on this was I had a really, really good friend in Ireland who was he's a great investigator, and he said to me online on my page, why are you using Echovox? It doesn't work. This was the way the conversation went. And I said, all right, okay. I've been using it for 2 years and I'm getting results. How long have you used it for? And he said, I've never used it. I said, oh, you've not used it. So how do you know it doesn't work? Because I know it doesn't work. I said, but how could you say you know it doesn't work if you've not used it? Yeah, but these things are gimmicks. I said, but you don't know because you've not used it. I thought that way as well, but I used it and I've got stuff. But if you go away and show me why it doesn't work, and I'll show you what I've got, and we'll compare notes and we'll build it and we'll find out the truth to what's going on. And he says, nah, I'm not going to waste my time. It don't work. And I was like, wow, I've got to be really careful, because if I'm listening too much to my colleagues who are, again, I'll say it, they're great, great people. But some of them could be slightly blinded by too much one way or too much the other way. And the only way that anybody watching just now, any investigator that wants to find out, do it for yourself. Grab your results and make your own mind up, and don't listen to me or to Greg or to any of these skeptics that are out there, or anybody who's an overbeliever, and then you'll find out.
Yeah.
I think another important thing to throw in there, and Ryan did touch on it, is just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We've all got our own energy, we've all got our own styles, we've all got our own ways of work. There's just some equipment you connect with. There's some bits of equipment Ryan uses, some bits of equipment I use. And, if we swap them, it doesn't feel right. But you're not in your comfort zone of what you're using.
Yep.
We get the same with locations as well. We do quite a lot of investigations events, and somebody may say, "Oh, I'm not coming to that one next time. Nothing happened when I was there." I'm going, well, doesn't mean something's not going to happen next time. We get asked, why do you keep going back to the same location? It's dead quiet. Well, sometimes it's completely different. You've got to, ghosts aren't playthings. You have to come out for our entertainment. Sometimes we've got low energy, so we can't expect everything else that's energetic to to just whenever we want it to come out. I was very similar to Ryan. I've been about 20 years working as a more in depth in the paranormal, and I was the same. Phone apps. Come on, it's got the internet, it's got radio, it's got people phoning it. Absolute rubbish. Until I started using one. When I started using one, I started questioning, how does this actually work? And that for me is a big thing. I've done it all through my life. I have to understand, how does something work?
Yeah.
People were saying things, it was built to speak to ghosts. And well, we don't know how to speak to ghosts. How could you build something to speak to ghosts? So, an explanation like that to me is not good enough. I need to understand, how does it work? What does it do? And I get it. Some apps out there are probably gimmicky rubbish. But just because you buy one that's rubbish doesn't mean they're all rubbish. We have our own apps, and we get all the time. They track here where you are. They're blocked into the map system. They know where you are. No, it doesn't.
It's not that complicated.
We've had it built. It's not that clever. It really isn't that clever. And we can explain how it works. It was an idea Ryan came up initially, and then with somebody else's app, and then we built it into our own. But it's similar to Echovox. It's audiobooks reversed and snipped, which Ryan did himself. Milliseconds of audio, so it's just tiny little fragments of bit sound. With the theory being the spirits can manipulate that energy back into a word and fire a word back out to you. So straight away, there's the explanation. This is what the app does. It sends out the bit sounds, reversed audiobooks, clipped, not paranormal related, clipped into millisecond bit sounds. The theory is everything's energy. It goes out in energy waves, sound waves. Spirit remanipulates that back into a word and throws it back at us. That's how it works. That's it. Simple. There's nothing more advanced than that in So we get really good results with it, but it doesn't geo-reference where we are.
No.
Doesn't check Google Maps and check what the castles nearby are and give us these names or anything. It's just not that clever. I'm not saying
It's
something,
basically,
but it's simple.
yeah, it's basically a sound generator. It's just like, it's no different from having a music player to pick your music track, but it's picking all these bit sounds. There's 4 banks and it's randomly. I need to have things random, and I'll tell you why. Number one, why get an app when you've got Echovox, which was working? There's still a part inside you, even when you get results that say, what if? What if there's a word embedded in there? What if I'm deluding myself? I've got that bit inside me still that I've got to. I said, how could I improve on this? And it was a guy, Mark Coultis, who had made one of his apps, and he said, I've got audio in bank A, but inside bank B, you upload your own audio. That's where the idea come from. I said to Mark, you've just done the most amazing thing. I want to put my own audio in because I want to make sure that there's nothing in there. And then I want to see if Spirit can use it still, if it comes through the same as what Echovox does. And I used Mark Coultis's for a while, and the first capture I got, I done the thing. I reversed the books and I snipped them and I made sure everything was under 350 milliseconds. And so the only thing that I would discount was if it said I or anything, because that's small enough that it could come through. But any full words or that, I would pay attention. And I was sitting at my desk and I was working away with it, and I got it all ready and all going. And I run a session, and the very first capture I got through was what was it again? Was it my friend built this? I can't remember. It was something like that. It wasn't a word. It was a sentence. And I went, "Oh no, sorry, it wasn't." I pointed at the app, and I said, "Mark Coultis built this app," and it said, "I know him. I know him," was the word that come through. And I went, "Oh my God, that's impossible!" And I could believe it. I sat dumbfounded. Plus, I'm in my own house. I'm at my own desk. I'm not even at a place that's supposed to be haunted. And I'm like, oh my God, that. And I let him hear it. I sent it to Mark Coultis. And Mark said, I'll give you one better than that. It sounds like Frank Sumption's voice, who built the Frank's box, who had passed away in 2014. And I said, did you know Frank Sumption? And he says, oh yeah, we used to speak in the old Yahoo groups about box building and that's right. And I was just so blown away. Now, we kept that second bit. This is me revealing it for the first time. We never told anybody, because we were like, yeah, we won't, because people won't believe you or that. But he said, that's Frank Sumption's voice. He says, oh my God. So we sat and spoke back and forward about this. And I says, well, it's certainly phonemes work. And it was maybe within the year, I worked with another guy. I said, could you build me an app, but don't build me audio? I just want the 4 banks. I want the sliders so you can make it faster or slower. I want them to be random. I don't want anything else in it. Nothing else, just a sound generator. And I'm going to put in these phonemes, I'm going to put thousands and thousands and thousands of these in. And I want it to be so random that it's just impossible to get anything from it. And then I'm going to record those sessions and try and get spirit communication. So that's what I did. And people still use it, the old one. It's absolutely fantastic. We were getting such great things coming through on it. And that's as elaborate as it is. There's no geolocating you. There's no full words in there. It doesn't know where you are. You don't even approve it to do anything like that. The first one we made didn't even have access to your microphone or anything like that, so it couldn't hear you. It certainly didn't have any kind of algorithm or anything like that. The only difference I have on apps, and we've just got one built, we've not released it yet, is the latest one will have a geolocation on it. And I'll tell you why. It's for when you do your audio session, I want it to log where you tune your audio session from for analysis, so you know exactly where you were. And I asked Daniel if he could do that for me, because I'm beyond the point to even worry about, oh, that's geolocating, so it must be. I know it's not. So I'm quite comfortable. The people who use it, who are really interested in paranormal investigations, are comfortable with it. And I wanted it for that reason. And the reason we brought out a new app to do that, which we'll put out, is I wanted to embed a music box. You know, one of these ones where if it detects movement of the phone or the device, if it picks up any magnetic energy coming through, I want it to set off to indicate to us that that's happening. And at the same time, see the problem we've got? You've got certain applications like these ones that move like the music boxes. They're great. You could use them, but you've got to turn that off to then turn on an ITC app, or you have to have multiple phones and devices. So I says, I want it in the same one. Can we put the music box inside, also have in the background one of these random sound generators? So you get your ITC, it can move at the same time. You could put your phone down and leave it alone, record it with an audio device, or record it with inside it, whatever way you want to do it, and then just leave it. And then on top of that, we decided to put a background bed of sound of elements, wind, water, you know, these kind of things, because we felt that sometimes when we went to places and done EVPs, if it was windy, we were hearing voices inside the wind. Really, really difficult to analyze, but we heard them and I'm like, wow, there's voices there. It's like Spirit are using the sound waves in some way to communicate. So I wanted to try that out as an elements angle where you could just put the elements on, no phonemes, or you can turn them off and just have the phonemes on, or you could just have the music box, or you put them all on and record the whole thing. So that's the only slight deviation we've made, and we'll put it out and we'll test it. It might work, it might not, and we'll see where we go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear that people are doing EVPs in wet areas, and they hear voices in the dripping of the water. Yeah, and most say it's noise pareidolia. It's your mind messing with you. But if you hear it with your own ears and tape it as well, is it pareidolia? Is it my mind? It's worth investigating.
It's worth investigating. I mean, it's such a... I get it. There is audio pareidolia. It definitely exists. Confirmation bias and that. It's too easy to discount everything to it. That's just audio pareidolia. That's just confirmation bias. It's like a great out. You know, what we're told as paranormal investigators, you try and gather your evidence, and you're held to a certain level to the evidence you put forward, and you have to explain and do this kind of stuff. On the flip side, if somebody's a non-believer, they get away with just saying it's just audio pareidolia. Well, can you prove that to me? No, it's just audio pareidolia. That's it. They're not held to the same level, which I just totally discount. And I'll give you an example where I've watched a parapsychologist, and you'll remember this from Spooked Ireland, who took so basically the little red radio we used was connected to the app we just spoke about. It was Bluetoothed in. So the app was running. We used a little speaker in the little red radio on the Charleville episode of Spooked Ireland, and it was Evelyn, who's a parapsychologist and a psychologist, and she said, right, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write down 4 words, and I'm going to listen at the same time, but I'm not going to say if I hear them. I want you to call out what you hear, and if the words come out, I'll then tell you, but I'm not going to tell you beforehand. She says that means you are blind to the experiment. It can't be confirmation bias or audio pareidolia. If we match all these in, right? Okay, let's do it. We got all 4 words. We got all 4 words. It was so mind blowing for Evelyn. You could hear her swearing. She was really going for it. Oh my God, you know that's just come through. We got all 4 words. I think it was they weren't even related words. Some of them, nursery was in there, and there was a nursery, but she used another couple of words in there that wasn't even related to the spirit case, and they come through. So it was like there was an intelligence new, and it was. I called it out. Chris, the camera guy, called out a few things, and I think we had Sheila, who was a production assistant. She heard a few calling them out. Evelyn was hearing them, and she was going, oh, and she was trying not to say anything because she could hear it coming through, but. Such great was the evidence coming through that it repeated and repeated until one of us actually shouted it out. And she said, I can't believe that. I heard it before. And then you've got it. The whole segment, I mean, we see a little bit on Spooked Island, but the whole lot took longer, obviously, sitting there doing it. And we got such great results coming through on that. I need to get that footage because I really want to just get that out there and just say to people that this is back to the, test and do it for yourself, because as much as you'll be told that there's not a lot of evidence that these things work, there is.
Yeah.
It's just it's not in front of people's eyes, and if you do it yourself and share what you get, and we'll start pulling this together and putting it out there, because it could be an area where we get the evidence we need.
Yeah, we did something like that as well with Tony Redman. He has developed Staticom and building it better and better, 3.0. And Shane had a lot of objects on the table.
Yep.
I had objects on the table, even pictures. And I put out my phone. I had a picture on it, and I asked for the relationship between me and the person on the photograph. And you can hear in between the noise, I'm your brother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's not audio pareidolia.
It's not.
Nope.
It's not. That's
Absolutely.
perfect.
And it was even in Dutch.
And it was in
Yes.
Dutch as well.
Yeah.
In Dutch as well.
Yeah. So they couldn't, like Tony and Cherie couldn't manipulate it because we
No.
asked the question in Dutch. They obviously they're American, so they don't speak Dutch. And we got Dutch answers. So
Yeah.
It's absolutely mind blowing. Greg will
Yeah.
tell you as well the amount of people who have taken the ITC apps we've got, and they could be Spanish, they could come from Germany or France, all over the place, and they get the communication in whatever language they've got.
We hear it quite a lot, you see it in some of the comments about the TV programs about go to Romania and the ghost talk to you in English. I'm a great believer that language is a man-made thing. We invented language. When we are born, we don't speak a language. We learn the language that we're taught. So my belief is once you go back to spirit, there's no barriers for language. You can communicate in whatever language you want. So if I'm in Germany and I'm speaking in English, there's nothing to stop a spirit from Germany replying to me in English if they choose to. And equally, if somebody from Germany is in Scotland, there's nothing to stop a spirit speaking to them in German. We get it a lot at the events. That, we have guests that maybe speak German or speak French, or they've been to France, or you have strong connections to France, and we get responses in French. We don't immediately connect it, but they go, wait a minute, that's saying this, whatever it is in French. Saying, okay, that's actually an answer to the question that we just asked. So, it's how does it work? It's one of these things that, if people say, oh, it's just coincidence.
no.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
it's something
just
I always say to myself, I think when you pass on, language is universal, like you said. We speak every language when we're dying.
Yeah.
Doesn't
I believe
matter.
so. I believe so. We're all consciousness, and we'll communicate in any way. We all are, us and with a body, or whether we don't have a body.
Yep.
And the communication will be there in whatever way they can communicate with you. There would be absolutely no point in a non-physical consciousness trying to communicate with you in a different language to what
No.
you've got. If they've got the ability to, they're trying to communicate. They'll communicate in any way they can communicate, whether that be a language, whether that be turning your lights on and off, your TV off, manifesting in front of you, or any way to get your attention. They will do that. And yeah, I'm a great believer in that. I've seen it on videos we've put out. We could put a video out from a certain location, and we've got communication. Great EVPs, brilliant Frank's box captures. Just really hits to the history, and it's such great evidence. And somebody will comment saying, "Yeah, but back then they spoke Old Gaelic." They just completely missed the point of the whole thing. Did you hear? Yeah, but they didn't. And maybe they're just communicating in the way that they know we can communicate. Maybe if they're an intelligent spirit and they're earthbound, maybe they can see around them and they can see how we communicate. We're taking for granted that they're stuck in a time frame and they don't progress from that. Maybe they do.
Even if back then they spoke Old Gaelic, but what about the answer we got? Yeah, that doesn't discount. Okay, it wasn't them then. So who did say that castle name or whatever? Somebody did.
Yeah,
they weren't living. They weren't in the room. So if you're going to discount it being a spirit from a specific time, what is your explanation? Is it a spirit from a different time? know.
No, but it's like you said, they try to communicate. Nowadays, almost never nobody speaks Gaelic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very difficult language.
Yeah.
I tried learning it. It doesn't work for me. It's like, no. Just no. I quit it immediately. It was day 2. I was like, nah, this is not my thing.
The government here many years ago decided that we would copy what the Welsh do, but all the road signs have the name in English and the name in Welsh, and we would have the name in Gaelic. And whenever you've got friends from America or something, they go, "What does that say, Mer?" I'm just reading the word above it. But yeah, some people would say that we should learn it 'cause it's our traditional language, but I suppose that's just the way time moves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, a little birdie told me you, Greg, write books.
Yes, I'm an author. That's how I actually met Ryan. It was through writing my first commercially published books. Yeah, I'm writing books 21 and 22 at the moment, which is quite time consuming to say the least. But what I did, I started writing paranormal related books. I did it myself. I was going out. I was getting back into the paranormal. I was visiting a lot of locations, and I always would keep a note afterwards, just for my own records, where I was, what happened, if anything. I thought, wait a minute, I've got lots of these. And this, at the time, Amazon was introducing their self-publishing on the Kindle. I thought, I wonder if I could put them together. I've always had this ambition to write a book. So I thought, I'll put some together and just see. And actually, the first one did really, really well. It's still my bestseller to this day. It still outsells every year. It outsells all the other books put together. And if I look at it today, it's pretty rubbish. I look at it and think, I could write that so much better now. And I keep thinking I should rewrite it. I think, no, don't change it. It's still, people like it the way it is. Just leave it. But I did 3 of these books. This is where the Haunted Explorer came in, the name that I tend to go by online and things. It was the book series was the Haunted Explorer because I was exploring haunted locations. I always felt that when you read a ghost story book, they tell you about the haunting. What I wanted to do was tell you about the haunting and tell you how I felt visiting it. You know, did I feel any energies? Did I feel hot, cold, or did I feel nothing? So that's kind of where the idea, I would explore these haunted locations and put them together in book form. But from the back of that, I was contracted to write Haunted Kirkcaldy, which was when I knew Ryan had an experience in a house that he used to own that was near Kirkcaldy. So I contacted him through that, got the story, and that's where kind of we started to work together after that. But yeah, the other thing that I found is there were so many stories when I was digging into history, because so many people will come to you and say, "Oh, this place is haunted," and they'll tell you the ghost story, and you'll say, "Why? Why is it haunted? Who haunts it? What happened there?" They don't know because they've just been told the story. So just telling you the story, they got told that, "Oh, there's a monk here." Well, who's the monk? Yeah. What happened to him? Why is he haunting this place? So I'm very much right through the history books. I look for the earliest possible account of that ghost story, because as always happens, as it gets told, as it goes through the generations, you add arms and legs to suit the circumstances. So I like to go right back to the start. And I started finding so many little stories that weren't connected to hauntings. There were historical stories that were really good, but not connected to hauntings. So from that, I started writing what's called the Secret series for Amberley Publishing. And what they do is they tell the story of a town or a city through the forgotten history of it. So it fitted perfect. I had all these wee stories about how a town or a city was shaped, but there's no ghost story connected to it. So I couldn't put it in a paranormal book, but it fitted perfectly for this, how the town was shaped, why the town is the way it is. So yeah, I've written loads of them, and then I'm now, it's dark history. I'm now writing, and I've also written a few books about the witch trials, the Scottish witch trial. And then the next one I'm writing after the Dark History one is covering the Scottish witch trials.
Wow.
Cool.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely do. I look at the time. We are 1 hour 20 minutes, and not to lose any listeners on Spotify because
He starts writing about his books as well, because he's written a couple too.
well, then you have to come back. I'm smart.
It's funny because every time, every single podcast we go on, everybody will tell you, everybody judges them for a podcast will say, "That's great. We'll need to get you back because that we spoke about so much and we've not even got to what we wanted to ask you."
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then we
it is.
started.
After 1 hour 50 minutes, you see they don't listen to the podcast anymore, even though it's very interesting. We
Yep.
had 2-hour podcast and we had to cut them in two,
Yes, yeah,
just not to lose any listeners.
yeah, absolutely.
So, just for the ending, if people want to follow you guys, where can they find you? Let's start with Greg.
Well, the main pages for us both are the same place. It's Haunted Scotland is the main Facebook page, and also Scottish Paranormal is the group, the investigation group side of it. Under the Scottish Paranormal, we also have Haunted Possessions, because that's another of my passions is allegedly haunted artifacts. I say artifacts, it's not just dolls I collect a whole manner of things with connections to them. I use Instagram under Haunted Explorer and also TikTok under Haunted Explorer. But they're kind of more for the writing side of things. They're not the main paranormal side. And that's what I use.
Okay, and what for you, Ryan? You have a lot.
Yeah, so yeah, again, same with Greg. Obviously, we have the main Haunted Scotland page. If anybody wants to follow, we put a lot there. We do our live streams. We stick up our videos and stuff there. I've got my own profile. Sometimes I put stuff up on that. I'm quite more quiet on there, but I try. The YouTube channel, we certainly are going to be doing an increase in our videos. We're going to put more content out. Actually, a lot of people are asking for YouTube, and we do tend to not put too much out there. I think we need to do more work. So Haunted Scotland on YouTube will be a place to watch, and we're going to just start mapping more of what we're doing and let people take part of that journey with us, because I want everybody to come into it and feed into it and tell us what they think and feature them on it as well. So you can get us on there. The same as Greg. I do have an Instagram under Ryan O'Neill. I do play around with TikTok because I don't understand it fully. I play around with TikTok a little bit, so you can find me under Ryan O'Neill in there and try. I'm not dancing or anything. I don't do any dances. I'm not doing any tricks.
That's a shame.
People want to see me dancing around, but it's not going to happen. But yeah, we'll probably be putting some. We want to do some more showing the real life of an investigator, because there's so much work goes in, and it's easy to see the nice polished stuff online and the public stuff. But let's start showing people, what we go through, getting the equipment together. Let's show people, the travel to, the expenses we go through, the long hours of doing it. So I'm going to put more of that up, and me and Greg have got some ideas.
Hours and hours and hours of research, not just for locations.
Oh, yeah.
What works, how to get
Analysis.
things. Yeah, analysis. It's tons.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Shane, the honor is today.
If I can do it without coughing,
yes, you
and
can.
losing my voice, that would be very great.
You can.
Because it's not getting better the later it gets. Well, everybody, thank you for watching, listening, and Ryan and Greg, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again. Like we said, you have to come back. Like every other podcast is telling you to come back.
Yeah.
Because there is much more to talk about.
Yes.
And
absolutely,
this was amazing. Seriously.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us.
No, it's fantastic being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Everyone, thank you in the chat.
Yes.
And we have the microwave, and see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
clock.